Okay, we're into section 1.7 now. And we're going to talk about adding and subtracting fractions. So let's start by thinking again about a pizza. This is one whole pizza with 8 slices. So we're going to reference everything to a whole pizza. So if I wanted to discuss, and let's actually shade in these pizzas here, so we know that each of these slices is existing in our whole pizza. Okay, so suppose I have 2 partially eaten pizzas. 7 of the 8 slices have been eaten in this first one, and 3 slices out of the second one. So if I want to add these together, this is pretty easy. I could find out, maybe I want to put them all together and box it and throw it in the refrigerator. I find out that the number of slices I have left is 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 slices that go into the refrigerator. Well, we just performed fractional addition. Essentially, we have 1/8 of a pizza plus 5/8 of a pizza equals 6/8 of a pizza. And we can see that this really, I wish these colors would set up. This really is 3/4 of a pizza here, you can see. And 6/8 reduces simply to 3/4. You can do that math. So, continuing with these ideas, suppose I had my 6/8 of a pizza, and I were to toss in more pizza. Maybe I get it from the neighbor's house. They had 3 slices left over, 3/8. 6/8 plus 3/8. Well, we don't need our pizza pictures anymore. We know that this is 9/8. And how do we know that? Well, let's just draw a little picture again. So, as I've drawn here in the little cartoon, 6/8 plus 3/8. So I have 6/8 of a pizza here, 6 slices out of 8, plus 3 slices out of 8 equals a total of 9 slices out of 8. So there's 8 plus 1. So I get a whole. So I get an 8 out of 8. So this is 8 out of 8 equals 1 whole. And this is 1 out of 8. That's 9/8. Or 1 1/8 is the result here. So what are we doing really? What we're doing is we're not touching the denominator when we do addition with fractions. We just add the numerators together. So whenever we perform addition on fractions, we need to make sure that the denominators are the same, and then just add the numerators together. So the same thing is true for subtraction. Suppose I have 8/8. I subtract 5/8. Let me actually give myself more room here because I want to draw the pizza pictures. 8/8. I subtract 5/8. What am I left with? Well, if I had 8 slices, I subtract 5 slices, I'm going to have 3/8. Remember, the denominator must be the same in order for this to work out properly. So here it is again with the pizza pictures. So addition and subtraction, we need to make sure our denominators are the same, and we just operate on the numerators. So let's do a couple examples here. Let's see, just make some stuff up. 5 11ths minus 2 11ths equals, denominators are the same, 3 11ths. 6 15ths plus 7 15ths equals 13 15ths. So hopefully you get the picture. I think there's a bit of lag going on here. We could even get a tad more complicated. We could have 3 2/8 plus 2 1/8 minus 2 2/8. Well, in this case, we could just add the whole numbers first, or we'll operate on the whole numbers first. So 3 plus 2 minus 2, and then add to that 2/8 plus 1/8 plus 2/8 again. So this is 3 plus 2 minus 2 is 3, and we got, well, I'm sorry, this should be a minus here. So 2/8 plus 1/8 minus 2/8 is 1/8. So 3 1/8 is the answer there. Okay, but what about situations where the denominators don't match? 3/8 plus 5/16 equals. We just give up because the denominators don't match? It's not possible? No, that doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense because we should be able to do this. Imagine you have a pizza that has 3 sliced into 8s, and you have 3 of those. And you have another pizza that was in the kids' room all the slices you cut in half, so you had 16 total slices in that pizza, and the kids ate everything but 5 of those 1/16 slices. So you got 5/16, and you toss those in the box with the 3/8. Well, you're going to have an amount of pizza here, a certain amount related to the whole, and that is going to equal something. And what we can do to figure that out is, let's just figure out what 3/8 is in terms of 16. So we can cut each of these in half. Come on, red. What the heck is the deal here? Cut each of these in half. So now we have 6/16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There would be, if I continued cutting these empty ones in half, there would be a total of 16 possible slices here, of which there's only 6 left. I add those to the 5/16 over here, and I end up with 11/16. Essentially, so I drew the picture here of 11/16 with the pizza left over. Essentially what I've done is I've produced a fraction. I converted the 3/8 into another fraction that's equivalent to 3/8, but has a common denominator as the fraction I was adding to it. So we have to essentially make sure when we do addition and subtraction that we have common denominators. Okay, as a general rule, quick decision we could always make whenever we're doing addition or subtraction and we need a common denominator is we just multiply both of the denominators together and get a common denominator. So for the example we did, let's say we had 3/8 plus 5/16. to come up with a common denominator, we can multiply the denominators together. So the denominators here are 8 and 16. So this is 8 times 16, and this is 8 times 16. So if I and I need to make more room here, I guess. If I multiply the denominator here by 16, then I also have to not multiply the numerator here by 16. So in essence, I'm multiplying 3/8 by 1, and I need to do the same thing over here. So we end up with then 48 over 128 plus okay, let me do a little bit, rewrite this a little differently. We had 16 was our original denominator over here, so I need to multiply this by 8. So I multiplied this side by 16, 16 over 16. I need to multiply this side by 8 over 8. And we end up with 40 over 128 now down here. So I can add these two together. I get 88 over 128 and reduce that to the number we had before, 11 over 16. So let's do a couple examples of fractions on their own. Suppose I have 3/7 and I want to subtract off 1/6. The common denominator here is 7 times 6 equals 42. So I have 3/7 times 6/6 minus 1/6 times 7 over 7 equals 18 42s minus 7 42s equals 11 42s. Okay, let's try another. 2/5 plus 7/9. Okay, our common denominator is 5 times 9, or 45. So 2/5 times, to make the denominator 45, I've got to multiply it by 9, which means I have to multiply the numerator by 9 here because I'm multiplying this fraction by 1, plus 7/9 over here. To make this 45, I have to multiply this denominator by 5, so 5 goes in the top too, top also. So we end up with 18 plus 35 45s equals, so I get 53 45ths, and pulled my calculator out, and you can see that I have 53 minus 45 is leaves 8 as a remainder. So this equals 1 and 8 45s. Okay, gonna end the video there.